Just recently, we saw the release of the Minecraft movie, or rather, a Minecraft movie, and it's very quickly become a cultural phenomenon. There'd been talk for years and years about a Minecraft movie. It was first mentioned way back in 2014, but over the years it seemingly fell into developmental hell. Fair enough too. It's not like video game movies were all the rage back then, and since Minecraft isn't exactly the most story-rich franchise to draw from, I can see why it took so long. Then we come to 2022 and things started to happen. Legendary Entertainment came on board and it was all systems go. A director, casting, and then in 2024, it was shot. We also got the first teaser trailer later that year, and based on that trailer, I was not optimistic that the film would be any good at all. It looked truly terrible. It looked like one of those films that you just knew would be wall-to-wall cringe. Something that would be painfully unfunny and absurd in the weirdest of ways. Yet another bungle from people that don't understand what the appeal of the source material actually was. In the end, I was dreading going to see it when it was released. I just didn't want to. When it did release though, I noticed that it was blowing up. I mean, blowing up. The thing grossed $313 million in its opening weekend, which means that it passed Super Mario Bros. As the most successful opening for a video game movie ever. Mario would go on to gross $1.3 billion at the box office, so you can expect big things from Minecraft too. Realistically, it's too early to say, but I'd expect it's going to surpass Mario. I'd forgotten just how popular Minecraft is. Jeez. Money aside, before we go any further, we'd better discuss what I saw in regards to opinions on the film itself. Critics, as usual, were going to have a far more negative view on this type of movie. It has a 48% approval rating from critics, whilst from audiences, it has an 88% rating as of writing this. That's a pretty wide spread, and I wasn't sure what to expect. Was it going to be absolutely terrible or truly glorious? The Rotten Tomatoes consensus summary read, ostensibly a film about celebrating creativity, a Minecraft movie provides a colourful sandbox for Jack Black and Jason Momoa to amusingly romp around in a story curiously constructed from conventional building blocks. Doesn't really reveal much, does it? So nothing else for it but to sit down and watch the movie. Even as the cynical part of me wondered whether this would be the latest in a long line of terrible and soulless cash grabs that try to connect with younger audiences by adapting beloved video games. So I watched the movie, and I'm in two minds here. On the one hand, I don't think it was a very good movie. There were some parts that were really good, but a lot that was bad. On the other hand, I really enjoyed myself. I think it's mostly to do with my nostalgia though. Anything that I may have hated in any other film, I found myself immune to simply because it was Minecraft. I was brought back to my youth, yearning for the mines, building castles and fortresses, placing sneaky dynamite traps under my friend's house and ruining weeks of building just to be a dick. Luring creepers and stealing diamonds, exploring and adventuring. My god, it tickled my nostalgia something fierce, in a way that no other film has done for a very long time. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, even if I can acknowledge it's riddled with issues and is among the dumbest movies I've ever seen. No hate for it. It knows it is. I'll give it credit. It knows it's stupid. At no point does the script or the dialogue or anything try to make this film something that it's not. We're here for Minecraft and the silliness that comes along with dropping people into that world. Even when they were being serious, there was an undercurrent of goofiness that oozed out of the movie that kept it from seeming pretentious and pathetic. I loved it. It even managed to distract me from the fact that there was a grown-ass man sitting right behind me, screaming out the lines from the trailer every chance he gets, and clapping real loudly. Pretty sure he kicked my chair a few times too, which was very lovely. At least I didn't get doused with coke or have popcorn dumped on me like I've seen happen to a bunch of people online, so there's that. We're going to start talking through the plot in depth now, so if you haven't seen the film and you actually care about the plot and about being spoiled for it, then yeah, be warned. Minecraft follows the story of struggling doorknob salesman Steve, who ever since he was young has yearned for the mines. Dissatisfied with his life, he breaks into an abandoned mine where he discovers the Orb of Dominance and the Earth Crystal, which when combined, open a portal to the Overworld, the main plane of existence in the world of Minecraft. Here, Steve finds a place where he can live his dreams, and over time he develops the Overworld into his own bustling paradise. Constantly crafting, mining, and exploring, eventually Steve stumbles across a portal to a realm called the Nether, a dark hellscape ruled over by Piglin Queen Malgosia, who hates creativity and longs to conquer the Overworld. In order to protect the home he found for himself, Steve entrusts the orb and crystal to his pet wolf Dennis, who takes it into the real world to be hidden underneath Steve's bed in his actual house. What I assume are years pass, and the story pivots to a bunch of different characters for the time being. The first of these being Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison, who was a video game champion from the 80s, but who now is well past his prime and owns a failing video game store. In order to try to save it, he heads to the storage auction to attempt to get his hands on an Atari Cosmos, which is an extremely rare unreleased console which I suppose he hopes to sell for huge money. It ends up being an empty box, but he does manage to get the orb and the crystal, even if he thinks it's just junk for now. Meanwhile, siblings Henry and Natalie have moved into the town as well, having recently lost their mother. After a brief meeting with their real estate agent Dawn, the pair jump into their new lives, Natalie working as the social media manager of the local chip factory, and Henry heading to his new school, but not before stopping by Garrett's shop and sort of befriending him. At school, Henry makes a jetpack because that's apparently something he's capable of doing, but after some sabotage by local bullies, the jetpack zooms out of control and blows up the beloved mascot of the chip factory. Oops. In order to avoid a reckoning from his sister, Henry calls Garrett to come and pose as his uncle, and once at the shop, they check out the orb and crystal and combine them together, which in turn leads them to the mines. At the same time, worried about the fact that he never came home from school, Natalie contacts Dawn, and they track his phone, which leads them to the mine as well. The four are pulled through the portal into the overworld, which in turn alerts Malgosha, who releases Steve with the threat of harming Dennis should he not bring her the orb and crystal. A bluff, since Dennis has been free this entire time, but Steve doesn't know that, so off he goes. In the overworld, day quickly turns to night, and the group finds themselves under attack by skeletons, spiders, zombies, and creepers. Henry discovers how to build in order to protect them, whilst Garrett accidentally gets the Earth Crystal destroyed. They cower on the roof of the building that Henry's built, surrounded by zombies, only for Steve to arrive and fend them off until daybreak. He introduces himself and tells them that they need to get another Earth Crystal from the Woodland Mansion, but they can't just waltz in. It's dangerous, so they have to prepare at a nearby village that Steve's familiar with. However, Malgosha decides that she no longer needs Steve, and so she sends out a piglin raiding party under General Chungus. Yes, that is his actual name. The group splits with Henry, Steve, and Garrett narrowly escaping via a wingsuit chase with Gast riding piglins, whilst Natalie and Dawn beat up some other piglins and escape themselves before finding Dennis the wolf and taming him. Upon realizing that Steve has a whole hoard of diamonds in his cave that he could use to save his business, as a new condition of giving up the orb, Garrett demands that they go through the mountains, which puts him at extreme odds with Henry, who's rightfully worried about his sister's safety in this strange world. After the failure and execution of Chungus, Malgosha sends out the Great Hog, who chases them through the mountain and who only doesn't catch them as they're able to escape via redstone railway cart. The Great Hog is seemingly blown up by creepers, and the trio are able to bust into the mansion. While Steve and Garrett distract the guards first by singing and dancing, and then by having a wrestling match with the chicken jockey zombie child, Henry makes his way into the attic, fighting and killing an Enderman, and acquiring both an Ender Pearl, which allows him to teleport, and a new Earth Crystal. After leaving, the trio are ambushed by the piglins again, with it being revealed that the Great Hog is still alive, or was rebuilt. I can't quite recall, and honestly it doesn't really matter. The piglins steal the crystal and the orb, and they use it to bring about war on the overworld, blotting out the sun, and supercharging the nether portal at the same time. In the chaos of the ambush, Garrett seemingly sacrifices himself in one of the most obvious death fake-outs of all time, while Steve and Henry crash land and awaken in a mushroom hut that had been built by Dawn and Natalie. The party crafts armor and weapons, and an army of iron golems to help fight the piglins. So there's this big climactic battle at the portal. In the end, Garrett swoops in like Han Solo at the end of A New Hope and helps Henry get the orb and crystal, which brings back the sun and kills off the piglin army. To end, the party, including Steve, returns to the real world. Dawn opens a petting zoo with Dennis as the star attraction. Henry builds his jetpack, which makes him cool at school. Natalie starts a self-defense school for some reason. And with Henry's help building a video game named Block City Battle Buddies, Steve and Garrett reopen the video game store to great popularity and acclaim. The end. Oh, and the school principal has a B-plot where she meets and falls in love with a random villager that had snuck through the portal into the real world. Within a day, they are ready to get married, so good for them. I'll be honest, whilst that was clearly just there to fill out time and break up some of the other scenes of the movie, that storyline was probably one of my favourites of the whole damn film. Okay, so that was the plot of the film. I'm not going to blow smoke up its ass and say this was a revolutionary narrative that has depth and layers and all of that. It's very much a bare basic storyline that feels slapped on just so they have an excuse to be in the world of Minecraft. It has the most generic fantasy save the world from the apocalypse storyline ever, and in fact it felt like a lot of the big scenes were simply Lord of the Rings references. It's also weirdly paced. After the brief Steve exposition, we're stuck in the real world for ages in a very boring get-to-know-the-character sequence. That was the part of the film I actively disliked. Once they actually make it into the overworld, everything there is able to distract you from the fact that the story and many of the characters are pretty dull. But when they're in the real world with none of that, the flaws are magnified instead. On top of that, it felt like the story never really bothered to flesh out the characters. Steve and Garrett were clearly meant to be the main focus, as they're the source of much of the absurd comedy. But beyond a few moments of Garrett realizing he's a man-child who's failed at life, we don't actually get much character depth from them. They're pretty much entirely comic relief. The lead protagonist was pretty boring, and his sister and the other lady felt like nothing characters. Hell, two of them go MIA for the middle of the film, whilst the lads go off on their adventure. To tell you the truth, you could have cut all the lead human characters except for Jack Black and Jason Momoa, and the story and script would have benefited from it immensely. Maybe keep one of the others to be the straight man to the absurdity, but nothing beyond that. You know what? Keep Dawn. Natalie and Henry did nothing for me. They had the weakest acting performances out of the bunch. It's not like they were given much to work with, but still, I feel like the story was simply something to keep the film tied together, as without any sort of plot the film wouldn't work. But the main draw was the actual world of Minecraft, which in turn acts as a canvas for some of the zany performances, which is where the real enjoyment's coming from. The story is at best of tertiary importance, and you can really tell. I feel like the movie fully acknowledges that, which I can respect. There are other things the masses are going to want to see more, but it doesn't mean it's not a flaw. For me, the visuals and the animation of the overworld and the nether, they were perfect. I was really worried it was going to be absolutely terrible based on that teaser trailer that everybody tore to shreds. The animation there looked bad, especially that stupid sheep. It looked primed to be one of those hybrid live-action/animated films that don't connect the two elements properly at all. I was thinking that it should have definitely been fully animated. However, when it came out, I don't know if it's just my changing opinion or whether things have actually improved for the final product, but I thought in the end the visual component was done really well. No notes. I thought it looked good, and that's all you need. In terms of music, as in the score, I thought it was good. Had some classic Minecraft tracks and was suitably epic at times. I was not expecting Jack Black to have quite so many random songs though, and at first, I was quite put off by that. Now his stupid chicken jingle is living in my head rent-free, so I guess I'm the fool. I will admit that one has grown on me a lot. But the end song when he's singing to the wolf, that was out of place and a bit too stupid for my tastes. Which takes me to what actually carries the film hard and makes it fun and memorable. The performances. For starters, just great voice work from the voice cast. The villager who learns to speak English, the piglins, just good stuff, very funny. The actress for Dawn, Danielle Brooks, she was good, but she had very little to work with within the script. Mostly just reacting to antics, but what we got was great. The girl that played Natalie also had very little to work with, but she was way more boring, sorry to say. And also, the lead kid, I hate hating on child actors, but just no good. I think it's very clear that the film would not be anywhere near as good without Jason Momoa and Jack Black being absolutely unhinged for pretty much the entire movie. Without their absolute insanity taking focus, the film would have been completely exposed as kind of boring and cringy. Since they both go so hard and seem like they were having fun with the material though, it ties everything together into something that's not good because it's not good in the traditional sense. The script is bad, the characters are shallow and mostly uninteresting, but it was fun for me to watch. I enjoyed it. I will admit my deep love for Jack Black and nostalgia for his performances and for Minecraft in general did heavy lifting here. Ultimately for me it was worth it, even if I probably wouldn't ever watch it again, outside of spamming the replay button on that chicken song. So with all that being said, these have been my opinions and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the Minecraft movie if you've seen it? Did you like it? Hate it? Was I being too harsh on the movie or maybe not harsh enough? I'm curious for your thoughts though, so make sure to like, comment and subscribe and let me know.